All right, so here is the game plan, just so you know. Today, what we are going to do is we're going to finish up that program that we've been working on that had the inheritance in it. After we get done with that program, we're going to go through chapter 11, which is on exceptions. After that, before we put the exceptions into the big program we're working on, we're going to make a smaller one so you can kind of see it without having to type in as much. All right. And we'll see where we are at that point. But the hope is by tomorrow, we will be basically done with chapters 10 and 11. Friday, I'll give you another pretest that you can work on. All right. And then Monday of next week, you'll have a test just on chapters 10 and 11. Then next week, my hope is to go through chapters 12 and 13. All right. And that's on the GUI stuff. And if we do that, we're pretty much done with the book. I'm going to give you just give you some code for some of the other chapters that are in there. All right. Also, you can see on here, if you plan on graduating and going to the graduation ceremony on May 12th, you have to order your cap and gown as soon as possible. Now, last time they put that in here, I think they said there wasn't even a charge for those. I don't know if there is or not. But you should be able to get on through Inside Rankin or someplace else and find out about that. All right? Again, if you don't plan on walking the ceremony, then it's not an issue. It's just for those people who plan on being there to get their degrees. And probably, at least, as far as I know, Rankin is like Blackhawk when I worked there, in that when you do walk across the aisle, they don't give you the actual degree. They give you the sheath that holds the degree, and the degree is typically sent to you. All right. The reason that they do that is they have to go back and double check and make sure you've met all the qualifications, etc. And I know that at least at Blackhawk that took 4 to 6 weeks after you graduated. They could provide proof of graduation if you needed it for a job, but you didn't get the degree till usually 4 to 6 weeks afterward. I think it's the same way here. All right. All right. Next. I guess they are looking for people who might be interested in tutoring here. So you would be tutoring the first year people. They are in the C# class right now. If you are interested in doing that, let me know. I will email you the tutor form. At least I think that's, let's see, Wentzville. Open this webpage. Now that's a great piece of paper to send. I think somewhere in here, though, is a tutoring form. All right? I will look for it and try to get it to you if you're interested. Lastly, before we start, you may or may not have heard of this place. If you would do this, go out to edufire.com. It's EDUFYRE, especially if you're in this class and you're having problems. All right, go out to edufyre.com, Edufire. Now, one thing that they have there, if you look up on the screen, you can do it too, I know that. But if you click on free courses, you'll notice that you got to go down about halfway. They keep changing this every time I go in here. Yeah, there's a Java course for there it is, Java for complete beginners. And I think the guy who teaches this, I can't remember his name, but I think it's something Purcell. He's very highly rated. So you can sign up for that if you want to for free. I have. You can see I've completed a grand total of, that would be 0%. All right. The other thing is that, if you look back up on the screen here, you'll notice up here, they have a thing that says $5 offer. And if you click on that, all the courses that they have here, some of which are normally $200, are $5. So if you go down here and you go to programming languages, there are some Java programming classes in here too. All right. And there's other stuff. There's C#, etc. All right. Become a professional Java programmer from scratch. Regularly $120 for 20. If you want to learn Unity, regularly $185 for 5, I should say. All these are $5 courses. Just when you go and if you do sign up for any of them, you have to put the word Fiverr in there when you sign up. That's all. All right? I'm not trying to sell you on anything. I don't get anything from it. I could care less whether you do or not, but some of you had talked to me and mentioned that you were looking for maybe a little bit more guidance or whatever than we that you've been given so far. All right. Now I've got the wrong program up here, so I've got to close this. And I'm going to open up the inheritance program. This is the one we were working on last time. Hopefully everybody is caught up. We had 2 more classes that we had to create. You've already created the 2 files. Those were salaried and pieceworker. So we will add those now. So I will give you, bless you, I'll give you the code for salaried, all right? And afterward, I will update the driver, and then I will give you the code for pieceworker, and then update the driver. Now, how fast can we do that? I don't know. Here is the code for the salaried class. You're going to notice it's very similar to the other ones that you put in. I did come in here. If you look, I did put in the decimal format thing. So once we rerun these, it'll start looking nicer. So there is some formatting in here. But I'll leave that up here for a minute. Okay, and then I'll move it down and keep moving it down, etc. There's a total of about 80 lines in here. And the next one, the pieceworker, I think it's a little longer. There's about 100. Because for the pieceworker, there's more calculations that have to be done. All right, so like I said, if you put that stuff in, there's only one field in here and it's weekly salary, so there'll be just one getter and one setter. I have not yet created your homework, or your test rather, as Tiffany has not taken it yet. I did, those of you who sent in an upgraded test, or a redone test, I have upgraded your grades. All right, so that is out there. Yes.
Is there a difference between a global variable and an undeclared global variable and instance variable?
Well, what do you mean by an undeclared global variable?
An uninitialized global variable? Because if you just make a global variable that's not equal to anything, it looks the same as an instance.
Well, if you make a global variable that's not equal to anything, what is supposed to happen in Java is it's supposed to automatically initialize global numeric variables to 0, global strings to the empty string, global booleans to false, and global chars to basically a blank space. But in instance variable, it's typically not. It doesn't have any value whatsoever.
I'm just wondering how you tell the difference. I mean, besides the comment that
The way that you tell the difference is this right here, that has to be, that can't be an instance variable. I'm sorry. This variable right here is not a global. Oh, okay, maybe I'm understanding what you're saying now. So looking at this, what you're saying is, how do you know whether it's global or not? Is that what you're asking?
Kind of.
Well, again, from what we've learned, one thing that you can do is you can create interface files. All right. In essence, if you make this public right here, or you make it protected, in many ways, it's like it is a global variable. All right.
Because it's private.
Yeah, since it's private, its domain is within this class. And since its domain is within this class, that's the only thing that can, only the methods that are in this class can directly manipulate it.
So the reason, I understand your questions. So global means it can be used in any of these classes. So like it can be used in all of these. The instance variable is only within that class. So the salary will only work in this class. Even if you reference it outside, it becomes private or all. I understand what this is saying because it's not in the public class or whatever. And it looks like a vehicle there, but it's only in this instance, so it's because it's private, it's only in that class. That makes sense kind of? I know it's kind of clear.
The other thing too is when you look at something being an instance, typically with an instance variable you say, okay, no matter how many objects I create, do they each have one of these? And if the answer is yes, it's an instance variable. For instance, each time I create a salaried employee, they should have a weekly salary. All right? I don't know if that answers your question or not, but that's the best type of answer that I can give you. Now, if we came over here, it would be stupid, but if we made this public right there, in essence, then it would be a global variable because anybody could use it. Unfortunately, also, anybody could change it. That's why you typically never make data public.
And then you give global variables getters and setters.
There shouldn't ever be a reason for global variables to have getters and setters. If you have global variables, a lot of times you'll just initialize them, when you create them. Again, if I went past that, but make sure you import the java.text.decimal format. Make sure you extend payroll and implement iPayroll. This is the same stuff that we've done earlier, except I did add some formatting into this one. All right. If you don't add the import statement in, you're going to get an error message, and as soon as you highlight that line and do an Alt Enter, it's going to enter it for you anyway. All right. So there's the constructor. Again, as we have done earlier, we're using super, so we are calling the parent constructor, and we're passing in for the parent. Remember, the parent is payroll, so payroll is handling the first name, last name, and social security number, and the weekly salary is going to be handled by the class itself, this class.
Shouldn't it be salary, employee constructor?
Yes, it should.
I didn't say that, that's why.
Well, that's what happens when you do a lot of copy and paste. And I'm finally learning how to edit the videos because one of the first ones I did yesterday was almost 2 hours long because I forgot to turn the thing off. So I managed to cut it down to 44 minutes, but then it didn't work on the other one. So there's some stuff. Dominic, you'd sent me an email yesterday, and I responded to you. Well, that's on the video. There's nothing personal in there. He asked for some Java resources, so I sent them to him. All right. But as far as I know, and this is again mostly for Tiffany's benefit, all of the videos are now up to date for the class.
How do you video? I was watching one of them, and I hadn't really watched them before. Do you have like a
It's the software that's in here.
Oh, that's cool.
It's Camtasia. It basically, it's a screen capture.
Yeah, that's, I like
Yeah.
those.
And I don't know, maybe you've heard me say this. To me, this is one of the funniest things I ever saw in my life. This woman that I had as a student, she came in one day during the summer to ask me about classes for fall, and she brought her 2 kids with her. And her kids were like about 4 and 6. And I started talking, and the 4-year-old just walked up to me and literally was almost nose, and she kept doing this and looking at me. And I asked her, I said, what's going on? She goes, she didn't think you were real. She's heard you hundreds of times, and she thought you were a machine. She didn't realize that was a real person.
That's funny. Is that when you knew you made it?
Yeah, right. I know I haven't made it, so. But the good news is, and this is what I was telling my 21-year-old daughter, is as you get older, you get more and more people who will be willing to comment on you and on your situations and stuff in life. And I just want to basically do this to all of them because I don't care anymore. I had somebody ask me, why the hell did you do this? And I thought, I would answer that, but me answering it would imply that you matter. And you don't. So I just totally ignored them until they went away. Again, if nothing else, you might even be able to copy in a lot of the stuff from one of the other classes because this isn't very different from some of the other work that we've done. All right, again, you don't have to worry real much about putting in every comment, etc. So hopefully you've all got the constructor. So here's the getter. In fact, there's most of the setter, but not all of it. So there's the getter. Again, if you do your code, you know this now, code, generate, you can do the getter, or the getter and the setter in this case would be just fine. So if you do the getter and setter, the only one that's in there is just the salary. So you don't have to, there's not really a whole lot to do right there. There's more in this one. It's got to go down a little lower. And I purposely left some stuff in here that I took out of the other one so you can see what we will be doing fairly soon. So the getter, again, just return weekly salary. I don't care how slow you type, you should be able to put those 3 lines in by now. All right? So there is the setter. You don't have to put in this comment, but I want to show you what I put in and why I put it in just a minute. All right? In fact, this is wrong. They should be deaf. Again, if you are typing in everything, you're not using the code generate, getter, and setter. Because if you did, you don't have to type in anything for the getter. And all you have to type in for the setter are these 3 or 4 lines. Because you've already got this one. Again, do not put in this comment here. I just want to show you, all right, that actually is exception handling in there. The beginning of exception handling. How's that? So what's next, again, as you already know, is to override ToString and then do the earnings method. The earnings method is nothing. All right? But here's the override of ToString. Again, you should be able to copy in one of the ones you used earlier. It's almost identical to the one that you just did for the commission. Okay, except you change that from commission to salary. Other than, and this will change too. In fact, I don't even know what else will change. This line will change. 90% of it is the same. So why retype? You'll notice this one again has got the pattern in here. So this one will have your dollars and cents, all right, where the other ones did not. My suggestion to you, take it or leave it, but my suggestion to you is for this program, go back yourselves and add those patterns so it looks more professional when you run it off, if you're going to put that out onto your portfolio. And again, these T's aren't going to do anything. You can even leave them out if you want to. It doesn't matter. Or you can talk to Ethan and he can show you how to make text boxes. We'll do all that next week.
They don't look very good, to be honest.
They'll look good next week. I took one of the old programs I created in Eclipse and did it, and there was not any kind of problem. So we'll start out, we'll create a real simple calculator where you just enter two numbers and have an equal sign, and then you'll have 4 buttons, add, subtract. Maybe we can put in 5 for the modulo, and just so people can get the swing out of doing it and been putting the code in and how you have to do all that stuff.
You
And
say Android or FX?
no,
We're not gonna do Java FX.
no, we're not going to do the FX stuff. The FX is scene builder, and I've done very little with that, and I just don't have the time to learn it, to be honest with you. So we will be doing a combination of Swing and AWT. So, all right, and again, at the bottom, there's the earnings. That's all there is, just weekly salary. There's nothing special we're doing with it. You need to put the @ override up above. After you've done that, if you have finished, go back to your driver and instantiate the same types of objects you've been instantiating, but instantiate them now with salaried objects. All right, so you can test those. If you want to, comment out all of the stuff you did earlier. So comment out the hourly and comment out the commission and just put in the salary. After you get that working, then we're going to move over and do the piece worker. All right, and then we'll be done with this one. So again, if you didn't understand what I said before, if you look up on the screen here, for this particular example, we imported java.text.decimal format. But for the commission one, for example, we didn't do that. All right, I might have even put in there, but I don't think we did any formatting. Oh, I got it in here too. All right, so I'm going back to the driver again, and I've already got a bunch of them in here. All right, so I'm going to comment out all of the old stuff, the stuff we've already done. I'm just going to comment in the salary people, and And I've got some pieceworker stuff I've already done, so I'm gonna comment that out because we haven't put any of that in yet.
We need to use the default salary, right?
Yes, you should be using the default salary, yeah. So there is no first name, no last name, no social security number, and then we put in the defaults, okay?
Yeah, I don't have
So hopefully you've all got the chance to put that in. So then move over to your pieceworker class, and we'll finish up with that one. Again, it'll be very similar. So here's the pieceworker class. This time we have two variables, number of pieces and price per piece. So you will have to account for both of those. Hopefully you've already figured out that NOP is number of pieces and PPP is price per piece. Then you can do your getters and setters. So here's the two getters for the number of pieces and the price per piece. Shouldn't be anything magical there. And here will be the setters. Again, you don't need to put in the comment that's in blue here. So again, if you have done already the setter, you only have like about 5 or 6 lines to type. If you've already, generated your getters and setters. And here's the other setter right here. Again, you don't need to put in this comment that's in blue. those of you who finished that already, override this ToString method again, exactly the same way we've been doing it. And the earnings is just going to be the number of pieces times the price per piece. All right. Then we're going to go back in and update our driver, and we're finished with this one. So again, here's the overridden ToString. And again, finally, this is the earnings. So you can put that in, then go back to the driver, instantiate now some pieceworker objects, and test all the stuff that you have to test. And once that's all working, you should be finished with this iteration of the program. So again, go back to the driver. Make sure when you're all finished that you save. Okay. This is one of the 3 that you will be handing in for the chapters 10 and 11 stuff. All right. It's 1:23. I'll start up again at 1:40. Okay, so I'm going to pause this.